Here to help us reflect on what is an especially poignant Veterans Day is Florida Congressman Michael Waltz. He serves on the House Armed Services Committee. He is also a National Guard colonel and a former Green Beret commander. It's been quite a year, Congressman, and I wonder if you could just maybe give us your thoughts today on this 100th anniversary.
Well, of course, we're going to celebrate and appreciate, men and women in this country that were willing to step up and die for that flag and for their fellow Americans. But I have to tell you, it is, especially for the Afghan veterans, it's especially dark and dim and painful right now. So many of these veterans groups, so many of these veterans that stood up at a grassroots level to rescue our fellow Americans, to go save our allies, to step into that breach that, frankly, our government wasn't doing, are really struggling. Many of them have quit their jobs. They've exhausted their savings. I know several that their marriages survived multiple deployments but are now in real trouble because of the scars and old wounds that this Afghan debacle and disaster and betrayal has ripped open for them. And to your point, we've seen an 81% increase in calls to the VA's suicide chat line. And that's just, it's devastating for so many. But I think really their disappointment and disgust for their own government right now, and the apathy and again, the abandonment that they see and have felt is what has been so damning.
Quite eloquent, Congressman. Just to drive home your point, here it is. So the suicide rate among veterans versus non-veterans, veterans are 52% higher. In addition, here are the numbers on the outreach in the National Crisis Line after the Afghan collapse. So this is back in weekend of August 14th, which was a Saturday, to the end of that month, August 29th, a Sunday. Texts were up 95%. Chats up 40%, calls up 7%. You know these numbers better than we do, sir, as we see the first flyover at Arlington National Cemetery. Be many more of those coming up in the coming moments here. You've got a piece out at foxnews.com. With Senator Graham, Lindsey Graham, who was with us yesterday. Here's your headline. Biden's terrorism complacency. U.S. must act now to counter threats. U.S. may have left Afghanistan, but the war against Islamic terrorism has not left us. And to quote you, radical Islam is again on the march. In what way?
Well, I think you have to appreciate, the symbolism of what happened. As I received a note from an allied ambassador from the Middle East that said the entire region has received the word now that jihad is won, the West is lost. Their recruitment is through the roof. The UN is reporting 8,000 to 10,000 foreign fighters flowing into Afghanistan. And I think we're in a real period now when the Obama administration, similar to when the Obama administration pulled out of Iraq in 2011, and then we saw the rise of the ISIS caliphate over the next few years. But the difference in what Senator Graham and I get to is we had a lot more tools to deal with the ISIS caliphate in Syria and Iraq. We had bases, local allies in the Kurds, access from the ocean. There was much more when we had to send our soldiers back to work with. But over in Afghanistan, when we have to send our soldiers back, and I believe we will, and that's what's so heartbreaking to me, is that we don't have any of those things. We have no bases, no allies, and they're armed to the teeth, and they have the powers now of the state to put behind the Taliban caliphate and their jihad. And the intelligence is clear. ISIS and al-Qaeda fully intend to attack the West, and they're preparing to do so. Senator Graham and I do not want to wait until we have another Pulse nightclub or, God forbid, another 9/11. We need to begin making those steps now to keep terrorism in check and protect the homeland. But we're not seeing any of that from the Biden administration.
Sir, thank you.
Congressman, wonderful to have you this morning. Thank you for your service. We appreciate you. Thank you.
And a reminder to you and all our veterans now, help is available around the clock if you need it. Here's the number, 1-800-273-8255. You can press 1. You can also text the Veterans Crisis Line at 838-255. And you can also chat online by visiting the website on screen. Take a moment to write it down. Of course, everything is confidential, and we'll remind you about this a bit later in our program as well.